During the late 1930s, my mom and dad were a dance team in New York, performing the rumba and any competition that offered cash prizes. By 1940, they were performing with the Xavier Cugat Orchestra at the rooftop of the Waldorf Astoria. There was an 18-year-old teenager in the band named Desi Arnaz who played conga drums. By the end of 1942, my father was drafted, assigned to special services, and shipped to Fort MacArthur in San Pedro. At 5'2", the Army didn't know what to do with him. So he was assigned to dance with starlets at the Hollywood Canteen, which was created by Betty Davis and John Garfield. My dad did his duty, but his heart really wasn't in it. In his free time, he studied to be a bookkeeper. In 1944, he received an honorable discharge and went back to New York. He told my mom that he had a job with Wayland drugstores in downtown Los Angeles. They had 9 LA outlets. The employees were mostly Latino and spoke very little English. Julio Sr. had now finally realized his lifelong dream. He was now a middle-class businessman. My mom and dad, my 2 older brothers, Jorge and Enrique, and I traveled by Trailways bus from Manhattan to 6th and Main Street downtown. It took us 6 days. I started school during World War II. At age 6, my mother enrolled me at 10th Street Grammar School on Olympic Boulevard. I'd always been a happy kid, but then I started school. Mrs. Miller, the teacher, greeted me with a smile. She showed me to the aisle where I would be seated. She then introduced me to Alicia, who was in the first seat. She was a beautiful little girl. I said, hello. Alicia just looked at her book. There were a lot of Mexicans, a lot of Latino kids in the class, mostly Mexican. And they didn't like me. I was bullied a lot because I was small. And there was one boy, Miguel. He sat behind me. He was my biggest tormentor. Where are you from? He taunted. New York, I answered. But my mom and dad are from Puerto Rico. He scoffed. Where's that? I trudged through the first grade. The second grade wasn't much better, but I discovered that I loved to read, and I was good at math. And then Dad told me once, and then World War II ended in September 1945. As December approached, my dad told us that we would finally celebrate Christmas with a Christmas tree and presents. I looked at my brothers confused. What's a Christmas tree? By December 15th, there was 1 week left in school before we took the Christmas break. Sunday evening, my dad gathered all of us in the living room and said he had a surprise. During the war, there were no candy bars sold in stores. They weren't even rationed. My dad explained, Wayland's will be distributing candy bars, the only candy bar now available. My brothers were ecstatic. I was confused. What's a candy bar? My dad showed us a box. He told us that the managers at the 9 Wayland drugstores in downtown LA were each given a box of Unos as a holiday present. My dad took out a bar, unwrapped it, and cut it into 3 even pieces. He gave us each 1 piece. I took a bite. It was chewy, but sweet. I liked it. The next morning, my mom was filling my lunchbox. She turned to me and said sternly, Julio, I know your brothers will grab all the candy bars, so I am putting 5 in your lunchbox. You are only to have 1 a day until the holiday break. Comprende? 1 a day. I understood. At school, there were all sorts of decorations on display for the holidays. My classmates were happily jabbering at one another about what they were getting for Christmas. I put my head down and did the assigned reading, and I did the math problems. I forgot about the candy bars. At lunchtime, I opened the box. Miguel, sitting behind me, looked at my way and screamed, "Candy bars!" and reached over to grab one. Without thinking, I elbowed him in the stomach and pushed him back in his seat. Miguel piped out immediately, "Julio has candy bars and he refuses to share." The rest of the class just stared at me. Miss Miller, the teacher, asked me to bring my lunchbox up to the desk and explain what was going on. I told her about my dad and my mom packing the bars for me to have at lunch each day. I told her that Miguel just lunged at them without asking. The teacher asked Miguel if he had done so without permission. He shrugged and said, "I don't know." The teacher sent him back to his seat. She looked at me and said, "Well, Julio, they are your candy bars. What would you like to do?" I looked around the room. Everyone I saw had been in the same seats since the first grade, yet I didn't know any of them. I counted. There were 25 of us. There were 5 candy bars. So I stared at the teacher and said, "I have 5 bars and there are 25 students. Could you cut the bars in 5 pieces and we each can have one?" Her eyes widened and she smiled. "Julio Martinez, you are good at math. You get an A for today." She then told the class, "Happy holidays, everyone. We are all going to share." For the rest of the week, the other children in the class did talk to me. Miguel apologized, and he said it was the first time he had ever tasted a candy bar. On the last day of class before Christmas break, Alicia, the girl who sat in the front of the aisle, came up to me and handed me a Christmas card. She smiled and said, "I have always liked you, Julio. Merry Christmas." Thank you.